Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to Babeinlibrary. It's your girl Lisa, and I think you know what time it is. It's time for my September TBR. Now, in the month of September, I have 3 different categories that I want to read in. I do want to support Latine Heritage Month, and that starts September 15th through October 15th. So I'm going to double back on 2 authors that I have read from before. I love their works and I do have them on my shelf. I decided not to go out and explore. I wanted to say, who am I going to double down on? Who am I going to make sure I can be an advocate for their recs? I'm going to recommend them every single time, but in order for me to do that, I need to read down their catalog. So the 2 authors I'm going to be spotlighting, one being Mia Sosa. Mia wrote The Worst Best Man, which I absolutely loved and adore. What she gave in this book was banter. She gave comedic. She gave family-oriented. All the things that I want to see in her latest release is When Javi Dumped Mari. Now, I have started this one, and it is giving me that good chuckle, that banter between the 2 characters in a flashback scene. So this one is Best Friends to Lovers, in which it's always been you, but you've never seen or chosen me, and now I've moved on type of energy. Mari has popped up and she is engaged. She's getting ready to go down the altar with a man that her best friend has never heard of. Now, they've been best friends since college, and he's finally got his act together, and he's like, it was supposed to be me. We were supposed to have our time. And she's like, I've given you all the time. I've got to choose me. And in this, we get to see their flashback. We get to see how they first met each other and how they really didn't like each other, but were forced to work with each other. And that is where that banter and that tension that Mia is so good at, that is where it's showing up. So that is what I plan on reading for the Latine Heritage Month, as well as doubling back to Adriana Herrera. I love her books. And I figured it's time to look into her historical catalog. And for that, I'm going to be reading A Caribbean Heiress in Paris. Now, this is a Leona series, and I do hear the most about this series in particular. This is where she is starting to invest a lot of her writing. This one centers a woman who is going to be a boss inside of the distillery company, but unfortunately, I think she has to be married. Of course, you know, back in historical times, you had to be married in order to have any type of ownership of money or to have any sort of agency. And this is a boss babe. Like, she said, I want to work in the distillery industry. I have visions and ideas. Unfortunately, I need a man to navigate society. And so she runs into I believe a Scottishman or an Irishman. And she's like, okay, let's partner. Let's work together. And it becomes a little bit more than she has bargained for. That's what I believe this story is about. I've heard really great things about this series. I do own the second one in the series, so if I finish this one and am loving the world, I will go on to that one. But this is where I need to start. It is on my 25 for 25, so it was already prioritized as a read for the year. But what better time than to read it in support of Latine Heritage Month? So this is the second author that I will be reading and spotlighting. Because I'm still in the Paris theme, I think it's time for me to jump into The Good Girl Effect by Sarah Cates. Now, I was fortunate enough to get an art copy. This comes out September 2nd, so just right after the holiday. And this is the second generation. All centers around our male main character, Jack, who is one of the children of Eden St. Clair. Now, Jack St. Clair is following in his mother's footstep in getting into the Spice Club industry, but he is taking over in Paris. And in this, we get to see that he is a grown man with his own child, and he needs a nanny to take care of his daughter so he can run the club. And so this is a nanny romance. Like I said, very much second generation, has some spice and some kink, and I want to see what kind of things that they're getting up to. So I was so very thankful to get this as an art copy because I am doing a Paris reading. I may try to read this in a vlog and be transported to Paris. So this is one that I'll be reading in September. think about some other arcs or some other upcoming releases that I want to read. I want to read the sequel to Honey and Spice. This is by Balu Babalola. This came out, I want to say, 2 or 3 years ago, and it was a 5-star read for me. This is a new adult book that I freaking loved and adored. When we talk about banter earlier, I want to tell you this is the top banter. It doesn't get any better than Kiki and Malachi in Honey and Spice. However, I am being told that Sweet Heat, which is the sequel, is better than Honey and Spice. And I want to know, how do you go big on big? Like, Balu probably knew, hey, you girls ate this up. Let me go back and give it to you as adults. And I am utterly blown, because at the end of this book, like, we rode into the sunset. I thought we were happily ever after. We weren't going to see them again. But you mean to tell me we're coming probably 10 years later, they're at different parts of their life, they probably broke up, and now it's a second chance romance? Baby, I'm here for it. That also comes out September 2nd. And you best believe I have an art copy that I probably need to read now in preparation for that. Now, the last arc that I want to read, I actually own the physical copy. It's not an arc, so I will say. This came out in print and digital format first, but now the audiobook is coming out, and I think it's high time that I read King's Proposition. This is the second in the King's Dynasty series. I just purchased this entire series from Aisha Bree back in May because I really, really enjoyed seeing the family dynamics. Each one of the siblings in the King's Dynasty has their own resort, and they have a whole chain of resorts, and this one is where our FMC owns the resort, and she actually gets into a little bit of a competition, breeding friendly competition, I'll say, with another resort owner, and they also kind of spark up a romance, and it's about determining, hey, can we be rivals or should we be lovers? I'm very interested to see how this goes down. You can see Miss Ma'am has some furry handcuffs, so I know that there's going to be some really good spice in here. I can't wait to see and listen to this when it comes out September 12th. Now, the last and final bucket of things that I want to read for is the Chicago Urban Book Expo. That's going to be happening September 27th. And there's a number of authors that I want to read. I want to read Nicole Jackson. I've heard great things about Fat Ma. I've also heard quite a few people talk about When It's Real. I want you all to do me a favor. In the comments below, let me know which one you would choose between the two of them. I'm leaning towards Fat Ma, but I can be persuaded for When It's Real. I need to read Nick Mills. Nick Mills has a huge catalog of things, and I've heard every one of them hits. I think there's 4 of them that I am waging a war between. So I have Scars of a Toxic Ninja. I have Seduced by the Plug. I have Only for Tonight. And then I think the last one is like Cuffed by a Certified Maniac. Those are the 4 that I'm waging a war between. And actually it could go either which way. I could flip a coin, and either way it's going to land. So tell me which one of Nick Mills you have read and which one you have loved. I need to read Wintertime. She has a number of different books. She has some mysteries. She has some thrillers. She has eroticas. So I'm pretty sure I'm either going to read Call Out My Name, which is a bodyguard romance, or I'm going to try The Body Ranch, which is a erotic thriller. So either way, again, she's got different genres for me to read. And then the last thing I'm going to say, I may choose to pick up Tatum James again or Natasha Rayner. I think Natasha Rayner, Till I Say When, is still one that is high up on my list. So all of these authors are going to be at the Chicago Expo. If you are going to attend and you want to let me know, please do so in the comments down below. Tell me which ones you would read or which ones you would prioritize. And if you don't want to do any of that, I'm going to ask you all to leave me a plug emoji. I want to say, let me know if there's like a plug or a wall socket emoji for Seduced by the Plug, because again, that's the first thing that is coming to my mind. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.